Hi, it's Eleanor. In today's episode, you will learn how to grow your income and make wiser coaching investments by learning the 2 types of group coaching programs. You'll also discover which type of group coaching program to buy and which to build based on your business's needs and your personal learning goals. Let's dive in. So here's the question. In a world where the rules of business have been written by men, how do women entrepreneurs like us, women who want to make millions of dollars and impact millions of lives, how do we create enormous success on our terms? That's the question, and this show explores the answers. Welcome to Power Presence Position. I'm your host, Eleanor Beaton, and I'm on a mission to double the number of women entrepreneurs who generate over $1 million per year in annual revenue. I'm an award-winning entrepreneur, author, and leadership coach. I'm a wife, mom of 2 boys, and I'm the CEO of a 7-figure business. Stick around because on this show, you'll learn how to think, communicate, and get paid like a 7-figure CEO. Let's go. Creating a group coaching program is a powerful way to grow your income, to multiply your impact, and to leverage your time. Meanwhile, enrolling in a group coaching program is an amazing way to learn new skills and perspectives and forge productive working relationships with smart people who share your passion for growth. And I have certainly run group coaching programs and participated in group coaching programs and had some really positive experiences in both. Now, online education and group coaching programs as a whole are booming. According to research shared by the World Economic Forum, the global market for online education will rise from $144 billion USD in 2019 to $350 billion USD in 2025. Now, that includes online courses and self-paced learning and group coaching programs. The focus of this episode is all about group coaching programs, and I'm here to tell you they are not all created equal. So in the next segment, we will explore the 2 types of group coaching programs, what they are, and why you'd use them. There are 2 types of group coaching programs, an algorithmic coaching program and a heuristic coaching program. Algorithmic coaching program and heuristic coaching program. So I know we're getting really geeky here, but you know you've got a little bit of geek in you as well. That's why you listen to this show. So let me define. An algorithm is simply a set of instructions for solving a problem or accomplishing a task. Therefore, an algorithmic group coaching program is going to teach you a specific set of instructions for solving a problem for which there is usually one clear solution. So an example might be how to create SEO-friendly videos for YouTube, or how to edit videos for LinkedIn, or how to make an Instagram reel. These are very specific, skill-focused areas for which there's often, one general way to approach it. And so in an algorithmic coaching program, you are teaching a very, very specific skill. Heuristic means enabling someone to discover or learn for themselves. Therefore, an heuristic group coaching program provides a clear container and a solid structure for you to solve a problem for which there may be multiple solutions that you need to choose between. So an example might be you are trying to solve the problem of how do I generate more revenue and work less? How do I become a more effective CEO? How do I structure my business model for maximum impact and output? You can see that in these questions, there are multiple potential answers. And so the learner needs to have a structure and container and clear guideposts, but this is really not about them arriving at one solution. It's about enabling them to discover and learn and create the solution themselves. So we want to talk about why you would take or develop an algorithmic group coaching program. So you would either take an algorithmic group coaching program or develop an algorithmic group coaching program if you wanted to learn or teach a specific skill. So an algorithmic group coaching program is going to be prescriptive in nature. Follow these exact steps in this specific order, the way that I tell you to do them. The emphasis in an algorithmic group coaching program is for you to be a follower, for you to follow a set of clearly laid out instructions. Now, sometimes this is a really good thing. I'll give you an example. Years ago, I purchased an algorithmic group coaching program. It was one run by this guy named James Wedmore, and it was designed to help you create SEO optimized YouTube videos. So I had identified that I wanted to develop YouTube as a lead generation source. It was very specific. And so I went out and found who was the best teacher. And at the time, he was a really good teacher. And he created this coaching program. I bought it. I took it. It was really good. I created SEO optimized YouTube videos. So I learned a specific tangible skill. In short, algorithmic programs work best when you have, like I did, identified a specific skill you want to develop that does not necessarily require a ton of creative or critical thinking. It's much more about, you're going to do some critical thinking, but you're pretty much following a process. And so the program is all about teaching you what that process is. Personally, I think that algorithmic coaching programs are easier to sell because the outcome is often very specific. So for instance, I used to offer an algorithmic group coaching program. It was called the Preeminent Podcast. And this really taught my system for how I launched my podcast. It's helped a lot of women launch their podcasts. It was basically a step-by-step course on how to launch a podcast. Now, we don't sell it anymore because it was technical in nature and it was really hard to keep it updated. So we don't sell it anymore. But that was an example of why you would take or develop an algorithmic group coaching program. And it all has to do with specific skills. So next we need to explore why you would take or develop a heuristic group coaching program. And you're going to do this if you want to truly elevate and generate long-term growth in an area. And if you want to drive long-term success by starting with the end in mind. Heuristic group coaching programs emphasize critical thinking, problem solving, creativity, and ultimately sovereignty. So one of the huge differences in a heuristic group coaching program is that you as the participant or learner retain your sovereignty. So we're not saying, look, check your critical thinking at the door for this 8-week period and just follow my process. We're saying, look, here's a process. Now let's engage around this process. We've done the work of creating a clear system and process and container to really lay out a pathway. You come, bring your critical thinking and creativity with you, and let's engage around this so that you can arrive at a solution that works for you, right? It's subtle, but super important, the difference here. In a algorithmic program, you are typically checking your sovereignty at the door, right? You allow the teacher to become the sovereign leader and you follow him or her or them. In a heuristic group coaching program, it is designed so you retain your leadership and sovereignty and you follow a process for sure, like there's structure, but you kind of co-create what the solution looks like using that guideline. So the focus here is on tackling trickier problems for which there are multiple solutions. So for instance, in the work that we do, we help female founders scale their businesses. There's no one way to do that. There are different options, and different considerations. And so you have to take that into mind when you're working with founders in that way. So the emphasis in a heuristic coaching program is not for you to be a follower of a process. Rather, it's for you to be a creator and a leader. The focus is on solving bigger structural problems that are going to require critical thinking, creativity, and deeper strategy. So let me be clear. This does not mean that a heuristic coaching program is unfocused. It's do whatever you want. No, the strong ones are clearly focused. They're well structured. There's definite outcomes. It's not just people talking about their lived experience and their journeys ad nauseum, as valuable as that may be. In fact, embedded in the best heuristic coaching programs are algorithmic elements. So, you can have this larger container in which you may have specific algorithmic tools. So I'll give you an example. Inside our incubator coaching program, that's the program where we work with female founders who are running service-based businesses to help them build a 7-figure ecosystem. So we really think about growing an ecosystem that nourishes you, And so obviously that's heuristic. So there are going to be some core structures, just like your natural ecosystem has structure. There's water, you need a source of water, you need a source of food, you need shelter. Like these are, infrastructural elements that you need. Well, we've mapped out what those look like in a 7-figure business. But your water source might be different than mine. Your shelter might be different than mine. Where you chose to position your home base may be different than mine, right? These are all the considerations that make it yours, but we're still constructing the same sort of core elements, right? So that would be like the heuristic piece. But inside that, there's going to be algorithmic pieces. So for instance, inside the incubator program, we have the larger, broader structures that we work with our clients one-on-one to build and create. But then we also have like 200 leaps. And these leaps are what we call our tactical guides. And so these are tactical how-to guides on things like how to conduct a focus group, how to create an effective sales webinar. Here's a template for hiring your first executive assistant. These are very practical algorithmic things that can really speed up the learning process. And the fact is that solid quality heuristic coaching programs will have these in place. They're just kind of the spice. They're not the main meal, right? Now, I personally find heuristic group coaching programs much more challenging and satisfying to create and run. You are teaching concepts and frameworks versus cookie cutter formulas. You need, as a leader, to provide clear guidance and structure, and you need to skillfully create a culture that allows participants to retain their sovereignty, their instincts. And you have to allow a mechanism for people to forge their own unique pathway with your learning tools. When you don't, you are cultivating dependency, right? Which is what you don't want. When you run heuristic group coaching programs, this is for those of you who are looking to create group coaching programs, you will attract more discerning participants. Therefore, you need to build a more sophisticated team very often to run and scale them. So you can start them on your own, but as you build and scale them, you will require a more sophisticated team because they have to be able to operate at that level of, opening up the doorways for others to learn and discover themselves. That often is a different level of sophistication from here's just follow this exact process, right? So you're going to attract more discerning participants. You'll probably need to build a more sophisticated team to run and scale them. This will make life a little bit more challenging for you. It'll make it also more invigorating and fun. Okay, so let's talk about why so many people get burned with group coaching programs and what to do about it. There's a huge demand for online professional development that just isn't going anywhere. Research published by the OECD found that global searches for terms such as online learning are 4 times as high today as they were before the pandemic. But demand and quality do not go hand in hand. Evidence from the massive open online courses organization shows that completion rates are often less than 10%. And while there's a difference between, say, a self-paced online course and a group coaching program, this is what's true for both. When someone invests in a group coaching program but doesn't necessarily complete it, they're less likely to refer others to the program or to purchase from you again. In short, if you want to scale your income and impact by creating a group coaching program, you are going to need to deliver a quality experience. And this is not easy to do. So big respect to people who do it. It is not easy to do, right? It looks easy. It is not. We hear from and work with women every day who have both invested in coaching programs and have or want to create a great group coaching program. And to be clear with you, sometimes people will come into our ecosystem and think that everybody that we work with creates group coaching programs. That's not true. They just tend to be the more prominent marketers because that's actually often what's required. If you are selling group coaching programs, it requires a much bigger marketing push. There's so much more to talk about on that, but I won't go down that tangent. But what I want to make clear is that, up to 40% of our clients do not run group coaching programs, but are scaling an actual service-based business, just to be clear. So we hear from a lot of women who've both invested and created group coaching programs. We also have heard from women who've had previous bad experiences with group coaching programs, and their complaints usually fall into two categories. So the first complaint bucket is that they feel upset or it didn't meet their needs because there was a lack of personalization. And they might say things like, I felt like a number, I didn't get personalized help, the system didn't work for me, I got sucked in by a charismatic personal brand, but I never got to connect with that person. I felt like I had to follow the system or I was doing it wrong. Now, these types of complaints happen not necessarily always because they enrolled in a quote unquote bad program. I just have tremendous respect for founders who are out there trying things. So I just want to be really clear that it's not always because they invested in a quote unquote bad program. It's because often when someone needs a heuristic group coaching program, but signs up for an algorithmic group coaching program, that's often why this mismatch happens. And this is a fit issue that should ideally be addressed in the sales process. So I'll give you a classic example of where I really see this. So when you are really scaling from like $100,000 to $1 million, what becomes really important is that you start to develop an effective lead generation system or an effective selling system for your business. And so what will happen is that they'll find somebody else who developed a great selling system, and then they'll go into that year-long coaching program and learn that selling system. And that selling system is an algorithmic selling system. Do this, then this, then this, then this, follow this process in exactly this order. The problem happens when they start learning this system and they realize, whoa, this is a great system for someone else, but it actually doesn't match my natural style at all. I have to be somebody else in order to sell in this way. And so you can start to see why they feel that program they invested in didn't serve them. It's because they bought an algorithmic group coaching program, but what they needed was a heuristic group coaching program, a program that worked with them to help them discover what's your natural selling style and how do we create and support you to create a system that works for you. Big difference there, right? Big difference. Now, this also happens when a program is presented as a heuristic group coaching program, but is actually an algorithmic group coaching program. And this is usually a marketing issue. So what I would say is that in this category of complaints, what the complainants need is deeper, guided, strategic support to elevate them and solve larger structural problems to help them get to a higher level of success. They needed heuristic support, but they signed up for algorithmic support. Why is this mistake so common? Well, let me ask you, how often have you heard people talking about heuristic group coaching programs and algorithmic group coaching programs? Like never. This is a newer area, and it's one where there hasn't been, I think, a lot of deeper thought about how people learn, about how these programs are going to be structured most effectively. A lot of the conversation around group coaching programs is how to market and sell them, right? And that's fine. There's no problem there. But, from my experience, the key to doing a good job here is to really pay attention to the type of support that people need, the type of programming that you want to offer, and doing it at a really high level. Right? So there's a lot of misunderstanding, I think, about how to really help people get results and what people are actually looking for in my experience, in my industry, helping people scale their businesses, it has to be heuristic support. Like you might take a couple programs here and there that teach you very specifically how to do something, but those are the broader landscape of support has to be tailored to you. So the next category of complaints is sort of a less common category of complaints, but I'd describe it all talk, no action. And so that's where people will say things like, oh, it was fun, but I didn't learn anything. I'm not really sure I got any clear takeaways. I really came to learn how to do this and I didn't learn that. So these types of complaints often happen when someone needed an algorithmic coaching program, but they signed up for a heuristic coaching program. Okay, so they needed a very tangible, specific skill, but they signed up for a program that was going to help them develop their own path much more, right? And so this brings me to the big quandary of group coaching programs, which is that, living and thriving in the 21st century economy requires creativity, critical thinking, and problem solving. In other words, most people need heuristic coaching programs in order to generate long-lasting results. But because they are creative, problem-solving, they're more critical thinking in nature, you as a program creator need to work much harder to communicate the benefits and connect it to consumers or purchasers. Therefore, algorithmic coaching programs are often easier to sell and create. So, this episode, I realize, as I'm kind of winding up here, this episode is definitely one of my geekier ones, but I just think it's so important to have a deeper conversation about learning. It's something that I think is so critical in our industry to start thinking about these different types of programs. Now, I want to be really clear, because of the nature of the work that we do, it's obvious for me, and also actually even more important than that, the nature of the women that we serve. So we attract women who want to create, they want guidance, structure, and support. It's virtually impossible to do it alone, but they want to create a business that's a reflection of them, and they want to retain their sovereignty throughout the process. So they don't want to hand it over to me or to our team. They want to retain it. And when they feel like they're not in sovereign control and they're not creating a business that's a reflection of their values, that's not a good thing, right? Thus, we create heuristic group coaching programs that have algorithmic tools and elements. That said, I know because I'm such a huge fan of them, I don't want anyone who's listening to this who is creating algorithmic group coaching programs feeling like it's less than. It's not. There's just a place, right? There's a place where you need to have a very specific practical, tactical skill set, and you are investing to learn that. And I've definitely invested in those types of things in the past. And there are other places where it's much more of a heuristic experience you need. Okay? All right. Let's bring it home. So in conclusion, you need to be clear on which type of coaching program you need or you want to create. As a program creator, this clarity ensures that you market, sell, and structure your program correctly to ensure your client success. And as a program purchaser, this clarity ensures you have the learning experience that you need, right? I'll give you an example. I can remember talking to a woman who what she really wanted to do was to go into a group coaching program where all they did was analyze the data and analytics from their digital sales funnels, right? So brilliant woman, awesome, amazing fit in every other way. But that was so algorithmic, literally algorithmic in nature, that she wasn't a fit. And I was like, I love you, and this is not the program for you. If what you were extremely focused in doing is building a dashboard and only analyzing the data from your sales funnel, that's a part of what we would do. But what we actually do is bigger than that. So it's not a good fit for you, right? So it's really important, both as a creator and as a purchaser, to understand what type of program you're running, what type of program you're offering, and who's a fit for it and who is not a fit for it. Okay, so I wanted to give you a couple of guideposts if you would like to take the insights that I shared on this episode further. and actually work with us. So at Safi Media, our programs are heuristic, and they also combine tactical how-to supports and resources for you and your team members. And basically, our programs are designed to help female founders build strong seven-figure ecosystems that nourish the planet. So if you would like to schedule a conversation with us, to talk through with us, look, here's what's going on in my business. Are you guys a good fit to help me scale? We'd love to have a conversation with you. We actually having conversations is a huge part of our process and our outreach process, again, because it really helps us to build a relationship and ensure that there's a mutual fit there. So if you would like to schedule a conversation like that, it's very low pressure. It's just a super low pressure way for us to get to know each other. I encourage you to do it. And you can just go to coachwitheleanor.com. There's a short application there, fill it out, and we'll get in touch. All right. Have a beautiful week. I hope you found this episode useful. If you did, please feel free to share it with a female founder who you think would benefit from what I share here. If you haven't had a chance to subscribe to the show or leave us a review, I would be so honored if you would do that. They mean so much to me. And that's what I got for you. That's what I got. So thanks so much for being here, and we will see you next week. Same bat time, same bat place. Take it easy.